Your Excellencies, it is with immense gratitude and a profound privilege for me to deliver these remarks at this first ever KAZA summit since the founding KAZA TFCA treaty was signed. The SADC regional cooperation and integration, which is clearly demonstrated in the KAZA TFCA, is informed by the SADC treaty adopted in 1992, which has identified natural resources and environment as one of the critical areas of cooperation or for cooperation, given the abundant natural capital that the region possesses. It is also informed by the SADC protocol on wildlife conservation and law enforcement, whose objectives include promoting conservation of shared wildlife resources through the establishment of trans-frontier conservation areas. Regional cooperation and integration is further informed by the Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan 2020-2030, or RSDP for short, with the objective to develop SADC into a functional and integrated network of TFCAs, led obviously by KAZA, which has brought us together here today. It advocates for the shared natural resources that are sustainably co-managed and conserved to foster the socio-economic development for the benefit of the people living within and around the TFCAs, the entire SADC region, and the world at large. In a bid to further support adequate implementation of the TFCA program, as was mentioned earlier, and guided by the Protocol on Wildlife, SADC member states have approved several strategies, among them a few which I'll highlight. The first is the SADC Law Enforcement and Anti-Poaching Strategy of 2022 to 2030, which envisions a substantial reduction in wildlife crime by the year 2032, emphasizing professionalization of protected areas, sustainable resource use, and regional collaboration. We'll hear consistent collaboration and regional integration, as was presented as well by Dr. Nyambe earlier. The second is wildlife-based economy strategy framework that intertwines economic prosperity with wildlife preservation, focusing on globally competitive wildlife-based value chains and inclusive socio-economic development. The third, the SADC CITES engagement strategy of 2022-26 and the multilateral environmental agreement guidelines, both of which advocate for sustainable resource use, rural livelihood improvement, and a coordinated regional engagement and at international wildlife trade forums. And lastly, the SADC forestry strategy, which aims to increase member states' capacity to sustainably manage and use both national and transboundary forest resources to enable economic development and support ecosystem services for our region. Your Excellencies, we should applaud, in my view, the Republic of Zambia under the leadership of His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema and the KAZA TFCA Secretariat for convening this summit, which embodies the collective dream, as he mentioned, pursued by the 5 countries, namely Botswana, Angola, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. The bold and deliberate step to sign this treaty, or the SADC treaty, in 2011, which is 13 years ago, has not only enabled these countries to share borders and natural resources, it has also established the largest land-based TFCA in the world. And this is why I think we are gathered here, covering approximately, spoke about 522, or approximately 520 square kilometers, creating a wetland paradise straddling all these countries and home to approximately 2.6 inhabitants, 2.6 million inhabitants. The goal of the KAZA TFCA is to sustainably manage all its ecosystems and cultural components. This to ensure the long-term viability and diversity of its natural and cultural resources, whilst generating the attended socio-economic benefits to improve and secure the livelihoods of communities within the ecoregion. Your Excellencies, this summit is an important milestone in its history and embodies a success story, in my view, in wildlife conservation, not only in this specific landscape, but also in the entire Southern African region, and I believe the world as well. From a total of 7 million square kilometers making up Southern Africa, around 1.9 or close to 2 million square kilometers, or 27% of the total area, is protected. 2 million square kilometers. Just think of that. Of this, 1 million square kilometers, or 83% of this protected area, is part of the TFCAs. KAZA alone accounts for about 60% of this total area of the TFCAs in our region. The above stats exemplify the criticality and the leading role this specific TFCA has on regional conservation efforts, with impact within the region and beyond. With its population, with its elephant population estimated at around 227,900, as per the recent survey of 2022, KAZA holds more than 50% of the global savanna elephant population, which is stable but still growing. From a conservation standpoint, this shows that KAZA has done very well throughout the years. It is a success story, a benchmark that should be emulated by others less successful, and should attract more and targeted resources to sustain and preserve it, and should be appropriately branded and marketed, as was just highlighted earlier on. This notwithstanding, Your Excellencies, there is a downside to it. 57.9% of these elephants reside in Botswana, and 28.7% of them are found in Zimbabwe. They have unfortunately caused habitat degradation in these two countries and continue unabated to this day, endangering the existence of other wildlife species. They have heightened human-wildlife conflict, going into villages and farmlands, destroying property and crops, and continue to kill our people. It is in my view that all stakeholders, when we engage on matters of elephants, the story should be balanced between human and wildlife. There are two stakeholders here, not just one, which is wildlife. There are people that reside in this. The increased wildlife trade restrictions at the international market and at CITES penalize and undermine KAZA's success in conserving its wildlife and protecting its human population, thereby depriving this region of the critical revenue for sustainable wildlife conservation and enhanced livelihoods for our local communities. Our key message to the world today during this summit is that we must all find workable solutions for all affected, not just wildlife only. We must promote innovative and sustainable wildlife-based value chains to optimize the use of wildlife resources for improved livelihood of SADC citizens and to contribute to socio-economic development. SADC remains committed to facilitating this mission through the SADC CITES engagement strategy. We applaud efforts by the KAZA member states in advocating for the lifting of proposed trade bans, which are having serious unintended consequences on wildlife conservation, rural livelihoods, and socio-economic development of our region. As we approach the 20th CITES Conference of the Parties, or COP20 for short, it is critical that we reflect deeply on past experiences and failures, learn from them, and explore different channels, including diplomatic channels, to defend the interests of the SADC region and our communities. This should include identifying alternative options for trading our wildlife products, especially where, in my view, reason and objectivity are embraced and not just the often exhibited rigidity and inflexibility by some of our stakeholders. The KAZA contribution KAZA contribution to the regional, continental, and global sustainable development is not only through the UN Convention on Biological Diversity being operationalized by the SADC Regional Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan, but also the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCCC, where COP28 clearly recognized the need to link efforts to address climate and biodiversity crisis to limit global temperature rise within the 1.5 degrees mark. In addition, KAZA contributes to the United Nations Convention to combat desertification, or UNCCD, by addressing enhanced drought resilience, reduced land degradation, and investment in restoration efforts, and the Convention on Migratory Species by facilitating the free movement of wildlife throughout the natural range. Your Excellencies, KAZA must be an important regional asset, and I think it has been highlighted there, for sustainable social and economic development by transforming it into a premier tourism destination. The pilot KAZA Univisa implemented from 2016 to date has been successful, and we must commend the two member states, Zambia and Zimbabwe, for taking the lead in this regard. It has produced a total of around 29,000 and 179,000 issued visas by the two countries, Zambia, Zimbabwe, respectively. This instrument, therefore, should be expanded to all KAZA member states. Time is now. It works. Let's use it. This should further strengthen the tourism development and maximize social and economic benefits for our region, as well as enhance sustainable conservation of wildlife. We express our profound gratitude to the KAZA heads of state for the exemplary leadership in protecting the KAZA area, sacrificing resources that should be channeled to other development imperatives. We also extend our gratitude to the German government for the fruitful cooperation for all the years we've partnered. For almost 25 years now, the Germans have taken both SADC Secretariat and member states as strategic partners, investing significant resources in SADC TFCAs and mainly in this KAZA area. Since 2009, euro 44.5 million has been invested in the region's TFCAs. Additionally, the SADC Secretariat has just signed a financing agreement with the European Union for 33 million euros through the Nature Africa initiative. We urge other ICP partners to join in this very long and demanding and expensive journey to better conserve our natural resources with tangible, positive impacts to our citizens living within and around the TFCA. As I conclude, allow me to once more congratulate His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of Zambia, our host, for convening this summit. I wish you, Your Excellencies, fruitful deliberations. I thank you for attention. Zikomo kwambili, muito obrigada, merci beaucoup, asante sana. Yalewa.
Thank you so